Feynman is a microbrand based in Singapore, and in the short time that they've been around, they've made quite a name for themselves for producing pretty creative and artistic watches. I came across this brand about a year ago and I've been trying to get a hold of one of their watches ever since. The brand is named after the founder's son, Feynman, and in this video I'll be looking at the Feynman 1 Eclipse, which was their first and very successful release. Feynman was kind enough to let me borrow this watch for a week to check out, but I'm not getting paid in any way to do this. The overall case shape is a 39mm diameter circular design, but it's extended by a pair of aggressive angular lugs that give it an overall sporty look. The lugs dramatically angle towards the wrist and are perfectly sized, resulting in an extremely comfortable 45mm lug-to-lug width. The overall case is 12.5mm and is on the taller end of the spectrum for typical dress watches. The entire case has a coin edge and looks great, and in my opinion a regular polished case would have looked quite boring. The crown isn't perfectly centered along the height of this watch and the coin edge, but as I understand it, this was a result of the deep dial construction. While it is a bit offset, it does improve the crown winding experience by being closer to the bottom of the case. The case back has a sapphire crystal that has an interesting mechanical mount, making use of 4 outer screws and 4 inner screws. Along with the non-screw-down crown, the watch is rated to only up to 50 meters of water resistance. The signed 6mm diameter crown is very traditional and looks like it was inspired by a pocket watch. Given the location of the crown and the limited room between the crown and the lugs, I think this was a reasonable choice. However, I think that for the overall case design, I might have preferred a non-tapering crown. Given that this is a manual winding watch, a good winding experience is absolutely critical, and this watch delivers. Moving on to the star of the show, the dial. When I found out this watch was called the Eclipse, I couldn't shake off the similarities between the dial design and an actual celestial eclipse. The dial has 3 components that are stacked upon each other, giving you an interesting sense of depth. The first is the hour ring and lies a fraction of a millimeter under the hour hand. Giving character to the semi-transparent ring is a gorgeous beehive patterned backplate that lies at the bottom of the dial. This is textured and not printed. The actual hour ring has 12 and 6 marked in Arabic numerals, but has triangle markers for the rest of the hours. The second component lies between the hour ring and the base of the dial. This is the seconds ring and once again just sits under the curled lizard tail seconds hand. This seconds ring is not transparent and looks similar to polished aluminum even though it's plastic. The seconds ring has 2 Chinese letters denoting 60 and 30 seconds respectively. The Eclipse name, even though it refers to only the blue variant of the Feynman 1, is very fitting as the dial looks like a snapshot of a celestial eclipse. I really love this, and I've seen something similar from the Russian watchmaker Raketa in their Copernicus line. The last component, and one that gives this watch its identity, is the nameplate at roughly 5 o'clock that once again repeats the lizard motif with its little tail stretching out until the 3 o'clock position. The hour and minute hands are polished leaf hands, and they are perfectly chosen because they remain unobtrusive and allow the beautiful design from under it to come through. On the outer edge of the dial, there is a chapter ring with 60-minute increments, and the sleek minute hand just hovers right above it. Unfortunately, this is difficult to appreciate given the distortion at the edges of the domed sapphire crystal. In keeping with the astronomy theme so far, the rest of the space is filled with a stunning radially brushed blue texture. The color of this dial plays beautifully with light and takes on different personalities, from dark blue under artificial light to an almost oceanic blue under natural light. This helps the watch stay versatile without looking too casual. Under a loop and macro lens, I've noticed a few scratches on the nameplate and dust particles on the hands and dial. I have been told that this particular piece is a demo unit and the commercially available units are subjected to strict quality control. The dust isn't visible to the naked eye, but the scratches on the nameplate are. This watch uses a manually wound ETA 7001 and is the top grade variant, which means that you have a beautiful movement on full display at the back of the watch, with blue screws and Geneva stripes. Given the small seconds hand, the slightly lower frequency, that is the 3 Hz instead of a typical 4 Hz, goes almost unnoticed. I logged this watch for a few days and observed an accuracy of plus 10 seconds per day. I think the 7001 can be regulated much better than this, but this watch has been on the road for quite a while now. Overall, I think Feynman couldn't have done a better job picking a movement for this watch. As I mentioned before, the short lug-to-lug width together with the angled lugs results in a very comfortable wrist experience. These watches ship with a lizard leather strap and is of great quality and comfort. There is a neat sign buckle that keeps with the angular design of the lugs and is very well made. To quickly wrap things up, I'm very impressed with this watch. The Microbrand universe is filled with too many derivative and unimaginative designs. Every day I find myself discovering a handful of new microbrands, and more often than not, they look like they were just picked out of a catalog from a manufacturer in China. In this polluted microbrand world, the Feynman one is a breath of fresh air. This is a dress watch, a statement piece. You don't often find watches under $1,000 that are both functionally capable and also have a unique design going for them. But Feynman took a bunch of risks in this design, and that's what I hope to see more of from microbrands. In terms of the negatives, I would have loved to get hold of an actual commercial unit to judge the overall finishing of the dial, but there are probably other good owner review videos out there that will show that off better. The crown design is a bit dated and dainty for an otherwise aggressive case and lug design. I also believe that with some clever engineering, they could shave off about 1 or 2 millimeters from the case height by reducing the height of the chapter ring and maybe the case back. I think this would look incredible at around 10.5 to 11 millimeters. This would also help center the crown placement. With all that said, if I wore dress watches, I would absolutely buy one of these. This kind of out of the box design thinking is what I wish to see more of among microbrands, and I think we should all celebrate this little victory and hope that others follow more creative paths. Thanks for watching, and check out the full review in the link below.